Welcome to Slavic Voice. In this episode, we explore a complex and often misunderstood topic. Why is Austria so Slavic? It's a question that touches on centuries of history, culture, and shifting borders.
The question itself is based on an oversimplification. Modern Austria is a Germanic language, culturally Germanic country, firmly rooted in the Germanic cultural sphere. However, its geography, history, and population show substantial Slavic influences. To ignore these would be to miss a crucial part of its story, a story that developed over more than a millennium. Let's examine the facts.
The origins of this connection go back to the early medieval period. After the fall of the Roman Empire, between the 7th and 9th centuries, various Slavic groups migrated and settled across Central Europe. These tribes and polities occupied significant areas of the Eastern Alps and the Danube basin, regions that would later form the core of Austrian territory.
This created a dynamic frontier zone, the medieval Ostmark or Eastern March. It was here that the domains of German-speaking dynasties, first the Babenbergs and later the Habsburgs, bordered Slavic principalities. As these German domains expanded, they inevitably incorporated Slavic-speaking populations. Key Slavic entities on this border included Great Moravia and Carinthia.
The scale of this integration reached its peak under the Habsburg monarchy. From the 14th century until its collapse in 1918, the Habsburgs ruled a vast multi-ethnic empire. This state was not a homogeneous nation, but a collection of peoples, including very large Slavic populations: Czechs, Slovaks, Slovenes, Croats, Serbs, and Ukrainians.
Life within this empire fostered interaction. Through shared administration, military service, and constant migration for trade or work, these diverse populations mixed across internal borders. This long process of coexistence and exchange is fundamental to understanding Austria's character.
The historical Slavic presence has left tangible evidence that we can still see today. One of the clearest examples is in toponymy, the study of place names. Across Austria, especially in the states of Styria, Carinthia, Burgenland, and Lower Austria, many town, river, and mountain names are derived from Slavic roots. They are a linguistic fossil record of early Slavic settlement.
The influence also seeped into the spoken language. Austrian German dialects, particularly in the eastern parts of the country, show both lexical and phonological borrowings from neighboring Slavic languages. These are subtle but significant markers of centuries of close contact.
Beyond language, distinct ethnic minorities persist. These are not just historical footnotes, they are living communities. In southern Austria, along the border with Slovenia, the states of Carinthia and Styria have historically contained Slovene-speaking populations. Similarly, the state of Burgenland is home to a Croat minority.
Today, these small Slovene and Croatian minorities are officially recognized and have legal protections. In some villages along the border, it's still common to find bilingual signs and education systems in both German and the local Slavic language, a direct legacy of this shared history.
It is crucial to remember that the borders of Central Europe have been in constant flux for centuries. The map was repeatedly redrawn by medieval duchies, wars against the Ottoman Empire, the consolidation of Habsburg power, the rise of 19th century nationalism, and finally, 20th century treaties.
This means that what we now call Austria has both absorbed and shed territories that at different times had Slavic majorities. The population makeup of the state was never static.
The most dramatic reconfiguration happened after World War I. The Austro-Hungarian Empire collapsed in 1918, leading to the creation of new nation-states like Czechoslovakia and Yugoslavia, which were carved out of former imperial lands.
This event significantly reduced the extent of Austria's Slavic-speaking territories. However, the cultural and demographic traces of those populations remained within the new Austrian borders. The map of Europe provides a striking visual of this history. Most Slavic countries share borders, but there is a distinct gap between the northern Slavic nations of Czechia and Slovakia and the southern ones, like Slovenia and Croatia. That space is occupied by Austria and Hungary, a direct result of their historical imperial position.
The Habsburg dynasty itself is a key part of this story. Originating from Swabia in southwestern Germany, they took control of the Duchy of Austria in the year 1246. At that time, the territory was already inhabited by Slavic peoples.
Over the following centuries, the Habsburgs promoted the German language and administrative practices. This led to a gradual process of Germanization for many of the inhabitants. But even as people adopted the German language and cultural habits, markers of their heritage, like Slavic family names and place names, often remained.
This interaction wasn't solely political. Austria's geography placed it at a crossroads. Major trade and migration routes, such as the Danube River corridor and the Alpine passes, facilitated centuries of sustained contact, leading to intermarriage and widespread bilingualism in border regions.
Shared religious and institutional links also played a part. Common Catholic institutions, monasteries, and pilgrimage routes created networks that spread language and cultural practices across ethnic lines, further blending the Germanic and Slavic worlds.
This Slavic influence is not evenly distributed throughout Austria. There is a clear geographical divide. Some federal states or Länder are considered predominantly ethnic Germanic. These are found mostly in the west and north. Vorarlberg, Tyrol, Salzburg, Upper Austria, the western half of Lower Austria, and the northern part of Styria.
In contrast, the Slavic and sometimes Hungarian elements are most pronounced in the eastern and southern states. Vienna has a strong historical Czech component, a legacy of its time as the imperial capital that acted as a magnet for immigration from nearby Bohemia and Moravia.
Burgenland has both a Slavic and Hungarian presence, including the established Croat community. The southern parts of Styria and Carinthia, particularly around the city of Klagenfurt, are built on a Slavic substratum. The eastern part of Lower Austria also shows these influences.
This geographical distribution is ancient, with its roots in settlement patterns from the 7th century CE, which marked the meeting point of Germanic, Bavarian, and Alemanni groups with the Slavic and Avar populations to their east.
So, if the history is so intertwined, why does modern Austria appear so homogeneous? According to data from 2020, an overwhelming 98.8% of Austria's population reported German as their mother tongue. This is an exceptionally high figure, even compared to Germany.
The perception that Austria is so Slavic often comes from a combination of visual cues and historical memory. In certain regions, the presence of Slavic place names, bilingual signs, and traditional costumes can give an outsized impression of the current Slavic population.
Moreover, regional histories and local identity, particularly in Carinthia and Burgenland, actively emphasize their unique Slovene and Croat heritage. This scholarship and local pride can amplify the perception of Slavicness for both residents and visitors.
It's also worth noting the broader imperial context. Poland, for example, shares a well-noted history with the Austro-Hungarian Empire. A portion of Poland existed within the empire with a degree of semi-autonomy, and Polish aristocrats, scholars, and merchants were active participants in imperial life. This further illustrates the interconnectedness of the peoples ruled from Vienna.
In conclusion, the idea that Austria is so Slavic is a simplification, but one rooted in a deep and complex history. The nation's character was forged by centuries of Slavic settlement, its central role in a multi-ethnic empire, constantly shifting borders, and continuous cultural and economic exchange.